Chris Vanini with Damian Ayers for The Athletic, here with Molly McGrath, sideline reporter extraordinaire. She's been with Notre Dame all month now. Molly, what is it like calling a sideline for the national championship game?
It's just like any other game, honestly. I think early in my career, this game would have felt bigger and a little more intimidating. But the more you approach, and you can attest to this too, the
Absolutely.
more you approach every game as though it is the national championship, so a week 1 game, a week 5 game, you prepare for it the same way you prepare for a national championship. So then when you step on the field for a championship, your body is calm, your mind is calm, and you're just excited for them to kick the ball. You know, so I know that that's the approach that players take.
Absolutely.
But that's how I've taken as a broadcaster as well, is that this is just another football game. It looks really big on TV, but when you're in it on the field, it feels like any other game. It just happens to be, in an NFL stadium.
Absolutely. Molly, this season has been defined by redemption, and 2 teams that are playing for the national championship had to redeem themselves throughout the course of the season. Obviously, Ohio State lost 2 games, one to their biggest rival in Michigan, and then Notre Dame, on the other hand, they suffered a monumental, one of the biggest losses of the season early on. But from the Notre Dame perspective, how have they redeemed themselves? How has Marcus Freeman, your experience being around this team, being around the players, being around the coaches, what has it been inside the locker room that has been allowed them to redeem themselves in this way?
So this is a cool story. The day after the NIU loss, Riley Leonard sat down with Marcus Freeman, and he was just devastated, crying, apologizing. And Marcus Freeman said, "Someday you will be glad this happened. You have to move on from it and take the positives from it, and you will be glad that it happened if you become better from this." And so I sat down with Riley Leonard this week, and I said, "Are you there yet? You happy?" And he said, "You know what? I thought that Coach was crazy when he said that. It was the worst day of my life. And now I'm happy that it happened." Because he said our team would not be here without that loss, because it forced them to get better. It forced them to change the way that they prepared. And you and I were talking about this off camera, just the fact that teams can now make it to the championship game with 1 or 2 losses. But I do like the fact that this playoff allows for that, because Notre Dame is playing their best football at the end of the season because they learned from those mistakes. And so I think the entire locker room would agree that the NIU loss is actually the best thing that's ever happened to them. And what an incredible story if they end up winning a title, to have suffered the worst underdog loss in history.
Probably,
Potentially win a title.
So as a sideline reporter, a lot of viewers will only see when you come on screen or when you give a report, but what are you typically doing throughout a game? Because you're constantly working. How many steps are you getting in a game, and what are the things you're doing throughout the game that people don't see?
I think a pedometer would give maybe like 5 miles, because for a normal game, when you're crossing the field and going around in circles, for this game I'm just going to be on Notre Dame sideline, but I'm always behind the bench area. I'm always listening, and you're listening to the broadcast to hear about themes. Like if they're talking about how the offensive line can't get any push up front and they're really struggling, I'm standing behind the offensive line. I'm listening to the coaching points. I'm listening to what the coaches say to try to think of themes, craft a report, and also the eyes and ears to try to get cameras on. Hey, Riley Leonard is yelling encouragement at his offensive line. Let's get a camera shot of that. And reporters will get cameras to the right places to get those emotional shots. Probably more than half of the emotional shots that you see in the bench area, a reporter pushed someone to get that shot. And it doesn't mean that I'm on the air or that it's attributed to me, but it means that I'm a part of a team and that I've contributed to the team and that I'm valuable for being there. So I think that's the coolest part. And also just listening to the bench area, getting to know the players and what makes them tick, and how they act in their worst moments and in some of their best moments. So that's been a really cool part of the job.
Molly, what is the craziest experience you've had trying to chase down either a player or a coach for an interview?
Oh my goodness. There are too many to think of. The only one that comes to mind, because recency bias, so we covered Georgia's loss at Ole Miss. And so Ole Miss fans stormed the field twice. They were so excited. They stormed the field, got pushed off for the final 16 seconds, and then stormed the field again. So by the time the clock hit zeros, Lane Kiffin was already in the other end zone. So I had to barrel through fans and players, and I didn't know what to do. So I put both elbows out and just barreled through like a running back.
I was going to say.
So proud of me. Barreled through like a running back and just yelled, "Move!" and ran as fast as I could, and basically like knocked my own little path. And I got to him, and I got the interview. But any other time, if I hadn't done that and run with that much physicality and determination,
Right.
I wouldn't have gotten the interview.
And you don't have like the cops by you like the coaches do to like set that
No,
up.
it's just me.
Yeah.
It's me on an island. And if I get the interview, great. But if I don't, it's on me that I didn't get that interview. So that leads me to have desperation and throw some elbows.
And like, what is that pressure like? Because it's not like they just come to you. Like, you got to go get them. You got to work. You're doing your work on the field. A lot of people think, oh, they'll just bring it over, but
I don't think people realize, because this job, like, people could mail it in. You could not run for the coach. You could not stand behind the bench and just listen to broadcasts and sell stories that you have from the week. But you're only as good as the effort and the hustle that you give, I truly believe. So to run for the coach, to get the interview, there's sometimes they say, hey, we're 2 minutes off air. If you can't get them quickly, we're not doing the interview. Oh, my interview's getting on the air. I am running to the coach, and I'm going to get him. My goal is always right off the handshake, get the coach off the handshake. He turns around, hi, congratulations on the win. Are you ready for your interview? Just so that is out of the way, so that then they can go celebrate with their team, so that then they can go be a part of the alma mater, because once they're a part of all of those other emotional things, they're out of the moment of the game and you've lost them. So for me, it's important as the clocks hit 0 to get the coach right off the handshake.
you mentioned you're only doing Notre Dame on this one, but most of the time you're doing both.
Yeah.
So how do you know when to go to the other side of the field, when to come back? Because that takes time to get back and forth. How do you know which side?
Game?
Yeah, in a normal
So
game when you're doing both.
Game, it's all feel and intuition and feeling moments and themes. So if you know that a team's run game is really struggling, you could either go to the defensive line of the team who's holding them, or you could go to the O-line and to the running backs and listen to them. It's just what the theme is about. A big part of that is listening to your broadcasting group. Like, if their emphasis with the lack of run game is all on that defensive front, that's who I'll listen to, so I can add to that conversation. But it's kind of all instinct and feel to know which side to go to. And then if there's injuries, you're hustling to run to go get that injury information, because you want to observe and watch the player walk off the field and hear what they say to their trainer, because the schools give you minimal information, so you just need to observe and be able to report what you see.
I'm going to put you on the spot real quick for my last question. I'm getting you in your element. Who is the player or players to watch for this Notre Dame team on Monday if they're going to win a national championship?
Jeremiah Love.
Of course.
Because he's special. He's a human highlight reel. He trained in the off season for this moment. He said, I want to be one of the best players in college football. He gained 20 pounds of muscle.
Wow.
He dedicated himself to film study. He's so determined. So I think that he needs to have success and be special in this game. But in order to do that, they got to get a couple big plays in the passing game.
Absolutely.
Right? They need a Jordan Faison or Jaden Greathouse or Bo Collins, who told me he's feeling much healthier and he expects to play.
Yep.
News right there.
Yep.
They need a big play in the passing game to loosen it up, so that Jeremiah Love can do what he does and be special.
Wow. Always in the moment. Great job. Awesome.
Folks,
Thank you.
Sideline reporters do a lot of great work. What you see on TV, a lot of that comes from them. They're running point a lot. Molly, thank you for the time. Good luck
Thank
at
you
the
so
game on
much.
Monday.
Thank you, guys.